What do you say to Zionists who say, well, Jews have long-standing ties to the land? They are indigenous as well. Zionism was a return to their ancestral land. This is not akin to the British white men going into India and colonizing India. It's not the same thing. What do you say in response to that argument?
Well, if the Jews are indigenous to Palestine, so are all the Christians and the Muslims in the world are indigenous to Palestine. The spiritual connection of the three religions to the Holy Land is very well known, but it's not a platform that justifies colonization and dispossession. In other words, Jews did pilgrimage to Palestine or had gone on pilgrimage to Palestine long before Zionism appeared and continued their connection to the Holy Land as much as Muslim and Christians did. This is a very different project. This is a project that has nothing to do with a connection to the land. It has to do with Europe's inability in the late 19th century to solve anti-Semitism. So they decided to build a European state instead of Europe that didn't want them at the heart of the Arab world. Similar outcasts in Europe earlier centuries built European countries at the expense of indigenous people elsewhere. By the way, also using religion as a
Yeah.
claim
I mean,
of a right to the land.
So I've always found it fascinating that this is about the ties to the land, but of course we know from the early Zionists they were considering Africa and South America as possible bases. So it wasn't like it was automatically Palestine was the only place. But having said that, is there not something to the argument from people who say when the British went into India, there was no connection whatsoever. When the Dutch went into parts of Africa, there was no connection whatsoever. Whether you agree with it or not, Jewish people are doing Aliyah and returning to Palestine in their heads. That is a connection. They're not going in their heads. And I just want to, I'm trying to present the other side of the argument as best they would. In their heads, they would say, we're not going with any kind of colonial mentality. We're going home.
Well, it's like the Crusaders had the same argument, and they built the Crusader state. They had a connection to Jerusalem. I mean, after all, Jesus Christ was crucified there, and he was born in Nazareth. So it was used before.
But they would say we actually ran a kingdom there. We actually lived unbroken hundreds of
3,000
years
years before.
in a way that, yeah, of course, that's the problem.
I mean, can you imagine someone knocking on your door in Brooklyn and say, "Excuse me, I used to live in your house 3,000 years ago. Here's the police. They will evict you from your flat because I have this." This is absurd. I mean, I don't even argue with the validity of the narrative. I don't believe people know exactly who they are descended of, giving the passage of
That's a good
3,000
point.
years. I have no idea. But I don't care if Mehdi Hassan want to say that his ancestors 3,000 years were people you really like. You are totally entitled to choose your 3,000 years old ancestors. What you're not entitled to do is, in the name of that narrative, to colonize the country and dispossess its indigenous people. It's the very act in the name of the narrative rather than the narrative.